I had brought my family here. I was going to die, and they were all going to die after me.
This is an incredible story. They left their comfortable California home, setting out on a sailing trip from New York to South Pacific. It is a miracle they're even alive. Their 55-foot luxury catamaran smashed to pieces near French Polynesia.
You're about to hear a story of what began as a dream, for a year-long vacation that grew into 2 years and then ended in a violent shipwreck that really changed the course of our lives forever. It's just a splendid isolation. It was myself and my family, and we were absolutely alone.
My friends told me, "Are you out of your mind? Are you crazy going on a boat with 4 kids and your husband for a year?"
And as I'm running down the deck, I'm face to face with this black wave that's just heaped up and breaks right on top of the dinghy.
My 2 little kids are just huddled up on the sofa, screaming, "I don't want to die, I don't want to die."
The mast on our boat is 80 feet tall. It's like an 8-story building, and that mast, it just came down like that, and it cut my leg off.
My mom was having a panic attack during the whole incident, which is quite understandable. And she was trying to lift the mast, which weighs 2,500 pounds, by herself off the boat.
They set off their emergency beacon, which sent a distress signal. They even set off flares, but no response.
I'm holding onto this life raft, and the whole time I'm thinking, is my dad gonna die? Are we ever gonna get out of here? Does this beacon even work?
The beacon signal bounced off a satellite and reached a Coast Guard station in California, nearly 9,000 miles away.
It was really scary for me because I didn't know if my dad was gonna make it or anything.
She looked at me and she said, "Mommy, if I go to heaven, would you come with me?"
The family was eventually able to evacuate to the reef as the ship was shattered into pieces.
By 1 in the morning, 95% of the boat was in pieces about the size of a dinner plate.
And then there was a boy, who became a man in an instant, and he saved my life.
His son, Ben, learned how to tie tourniquets in the Boy Scouts and stop the bleeding.
All of a sudden, I got hit in the head by something. I didn't know what it was, and I woke up about a few moments later on the deck, and I could hear him yelling out, "My leg's broken," and I looked over, and all I saw was the life raft on top of him. I didn't even see the mast.
In the last seconds before a wave breaks, you can see the phosphorescence at the crest. I could hear the shouts of my kids. I could hear the shouts of Ben, and I could hear the shouts of Amelia, and they'd be yelling, "Big one." And it was the courage in their voices. They weren't crying in agony, and they weren't crying in fear. They were crying in resistance, and it gave me the will to fight.
After 14 hours, the Silverwoods were rescued by the French Navy. John's leg was amputated just above the knee.
That evening, I'm in the operating room, and I can still see the black silhouette of the faces of those French surgeons. It's the last thing I remember, before I went under, and I was just ecstatic. I was so happy. I couldn't believe that my wife and my kids were alive.
Incredible. Doctors tell us John would have died if he had gone 40 more minutes without medical care.
There's an infinite number of little things that had to align just right for us to be rescued.
Even though that was the end of our sailing adventure, it was really just the beginning of our life adventure.
Their story of triumph over tragedy is now chronicled in the book Black Wave, a family's adventure at sea and the disaster that saved them. What do you want readers to take away from this incredible story?
Well, we'd like readers to read the book because we feel that, we triumphed over this tragedy, and a lot of others can do the same thing, and we'd like to be able to help people be able to do what we did.
We all face impossible situations in our lives, and they're going to come up again for all of us. And I just hope that you guys can remember, like we try to, that the same resolve and strength that we found out there, you can find inside yourself, right where you need it and right when you need it most. Thank you.